Hey everybody, welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. Today we are focusing on perhaps one of your New Year's resolutions. I know it's been on my list for probably the last 10 years. So it means I haven't succeeded, but this year I am determined to find solutions. And over the course of this radio show for the last 5 years, we've talked to a bunch of health experts, and we're going to be talking to Dr. Sandeep Grewal, and he's going to be talking about what may have happened to all of you over the last couple of weeks. Perhaps you ate a little bit unhealthy over the holiday season. Well, I started during Thanksgiving, and it's just been a coast of sugar, carbs, fat, and and you're wondering what happens during the holiday season? Why is it so hard to stop? And now that our New Year's resolutions are coming about, how do we start losing some of those extra pounds that we may have gained? So welcome, Dr. Graywall.
Well, thank you for having me on the show.
So what happens? Why is it sometimes it's almost I think of it as an addiction. It's better. It's like crack cocaine, sugar, the combination of sugar, fat, butter. It's like just does me in every season, and it starts during Thanksgiving, and it just gets progressively worse, and then I get a little bit better, and then Valentine's Day comes along and I get bad again. I mean, it goes back and forth. What's happening during
Well,
that?
you bring up a great point. It's very interesting how things happen in when we eat something. For example, like you mentioned, the mixture of fat and sugar.
Hmm.
Scientists have actually done research on mixture of fat and sugar, and what they have found out is then that they actually gave a mixture of fat and sugar, which is like cookies and cakes, to rats in the labs.
Hmm.
And they noticed that the day the rat ate the mixture of fat and sugar, it ate more within the next 2 hours and, in fact, consumed half of the day's calorie in the next 2 hours.
Yes, just like human beings, myself being the rat.
Right, right. So, which is the reason they do research on rats is because they're very similar to human beings in terms of behavior.
Mm.
And what's happening is when Thanksgiving comes, we see all this goodies, the cookies, and the
Pumpkin pies, pecan
Right,
pie.
exactly. And that triggers an intense craving in us. And when
Mm.
that craving sets in, we start eating more. And as we get deeper and deeper into the holidays, we get more and more sweet stuff. We get more and more mixture of fat and sugar. Cookies, cakes are everywhere. You go to office, it's sitting there. You come home, it's sitting there.
Right.
And this food, because we choose to eat it, triggers the craving. And that's the reason we eat more in the holidays and the reason for the weight gain.
Okay, so it's the combination of the sugar and the fat that kind of gets us on a rolling train of wanting more and more. So, what's the science behind the every 2 hours and why the sugar and fat in particular?
All right. I think research has also shown the same with sugary drinks also.
Mm.
So sugary drinks can also cause binge eating behavior. That's why people who drink a lot of soda or juices or iced tea also tend to show the binge eating behavior and uncontrolled eating.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question, uh, we really don't know why it happens, but somehow the mixture of fat and sugar triggers those cravings in us. And
Mm.
that's the reason we kind of go on this roller coaster of, keeping on eating and munching all the time.
Yeah, and I thought it was a brain thing that our brain goes, "Oh, that's good. Better start saving up, saving
Exactly.
up those nuts for the winter."
Right.
Story.
But these are high calorie foods, and what our brain says that when it sees a high calorie food, it likes it because you get a lot of calories and it's able to save a lot. But we really don't need to save a lot, and that's where the science comes about eating every 4 hours, or
Mm-hmm.
instead of us eating once a day, because many times we have this myth that if we eat once a day, we are going to lose weight, but that does not happen. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason it does not happen is that research has shown that if we eat once a day, our metabolism actually drops, and it can even drop back to 50%, which basically means that if you have at the end of the day after eating uh, just once a day, at the end of the day, when you start eating food and you take in 1,000 calories, it will
Mm-hmm.
act as 2,000 calories just because
What?
the rate has dropped by 50%. That is the reason we are supposed to eat only a little bit at one time. So for two reasons, and there's a lot more science behind it, but two reasons that number one, to reduce the insulin spike in our body, which
Mm-hmm.
causes storage of these foods. And number two, it boosts our metabolism. When we eat frequently, but in the right portions, of course, it boosts our metabolism. It keeps our metabolism active.
Right.
Instead of us eating just once a day, when we drop our metabolism, and even if we are eating little, at the end of the day, it's still a lot.
Yeah, okay. So one of the you actually have a couple of rules in your book, and one of them is to eat 3 meals a day. Breakfast starting like right a half an hour before you get up in the morning, and then to eat two snacks, either one in between breakfast and lunch, or one between lunch and dinner, or one after dinner, which was a surprise to me because I've always heard stop eating after dinner. So I want to break that down in a couple of different steps. One is, hey, eat 5 meals a day, and as you just explained it, so that our metabolism is like, hey, you're stoking the engine, you're eating all the time, and what happens with our metabolism when we do it that way versus like we eat one meal?
Right. So let's take about this. The same food that gives us calories is the biggest booster of metabolism in our body.
Okay.
And for example, when you eat a piece of steak, or you eat a banana, or you eat an egg, it goes into our system, and the whole process of digestion takes away 35% of the calories out of
Okay.
food. So we know that if we are eating frequently, our metabolic rate goes up. If we are skipping our meals, our metabolic rate goes down, because you're telling the brain that food is not coming in. When the brain knows food is not coming
Oh.
in, your brain is going to shut down your system, drop the metabolic rate, because it tells you we don't have enough funds here.
Oh,
But
okay. I just all of a sudden, I don't know whether it's the holiday season, but I all of a sudden heard 35% discount, 35% off.
right, that's true. If we
Right?
eat the right way, we get 35% discount on the calories.
Yeah, exactly. I just heard sale, 35% off. If I eat continuously throughout the whole day, it's going to take 35% off of those calories, of those calories throughout the whole day because it takes 35% of the time to digest and consume. So if I only consume like 1,000 calories, so okay, so I understand the 35% off, right? Like if I eat throughout the whole day, it's like I'm working all day long. So if I only eat, one piece of steak, which is probably 600 calories the whole day, why does that convert to 2,000 calories? That's the part I don't
So,
understand.
yeah, the reason is our metabolic rate drops. For example, our metabolic rate drops by 50%, which basically means 1,000 calorie would impact our body like 2,000 calories. So even though we eat a steak just eat one steak a day and nothing else, and it's a 600 calorie steak, actually we took in 1,200 calories worth of food, because now we are not consuming all that. Our body is kind of accumulating all that.
Okay, so I don't get the 35% discount.
So you get a 50% surcharge for eating once a day.
Thank you. Just put this in terms of shopping. I'm just coming to so I understand.
Right.
Okay, I get that. Wow, that's really interesting and so counterintuitive because I've always thought of it as a math equation, right? Calories in, calories out, but then there's the process of digestion, of which there's calories burned just through the process of digestion and continual digestion, which I fundamentally did not get until this moment. That's fascinating.
Right, and it's interesting that calorie in, calorie out is being used since 1950s and 1960s,
Yeah.
but that's an incomplete way of looking at our diet and our weight. The best way, there is way more things in it than we know, and many of them are very simple to do, just like by eating breakfast, for example.
Yes.
When we wake up in the morning, like now, like I said, a fasting state is going to drop our metabolism.
Right.
So when we sleep at night, say we have dinner at 9 o'clock,
Right.
then we sleep, then we don't eat until next day morning. That's
Mm-hmm.
by itself is a 12-hour fasting period.
Right.
So in the night, our metabolic rate starts dropping.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we skip our breakfast in the morning, we are extending that fasting period to 16 hours, causing even further drop in metabolism. So that is
Ah.
something we don't want to do. So just a little thing of that: when you wake up, within the first hour you eat your breakfast, you are actually boosting your metabolism back up.
Hmm. Okay,
So
got it. And here's the thing. So you want to eat 30 minutes after you wake up so that you start because you've been fasting for 12 hours or whatever amount you've slept and you want to or from the last time you ate. So you
right.
actually want to boost it together. No, boost it up. So for breakfast. And I know you actually in your book, Fat Me Not, you talk a lot about people complain like I can't eat breakfast. It makes me sick, and you say, hey, you'll get used to it over time.
Right, and we can always start, slow. You could make a fresh cup of orange juice. Don't buy it from the store. I
Hmm.
strongly recommend make your own orange juice, make your own juices because what you find in the store has a lot of sugar in it, which again
Mm.
defeats the purpose. Uh, so you could have make a fresh orange juice, start drinking that, then maybe add a boiled egg to it, and then slowly graduate to having a toast and a boiled egg in the morning along with the juice, and slowly get to a full breakfast level.
Yeah, and the thing that's hard for me is actually the cooking, and like you're running out the door. And so the thing that I found in your book that was surprising is I did a weight loss plan, and they said, "Oh, eat as a replacement for your breakfast, eat a protein shake or a protein bar," which you recommend again. So, and I think that's how a lot of people eat breakfast. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, here's the thing that, like I said, our food is the biggest booster of our metabolism. So the more we eat, more our metabolism goes up. Of course, as long as we eat the right food. So if you get a choice between protein shake, protein powders versus a piece of steak,
Hmm.
which is better? The piece of steak is way better than protein powder and protein shake. And the reason for that is when you eat a piece of steak, you got to first chew it in the mouth, then it falls into your stomach where your stomach grinds it into a mush, and then it goes to the intestine. All the enzymes come in, they break this protein into smaller and smaller peptides, and smaller peptides then get broken into small amino acid molecules, and then finally it get absorbed.
Right.
Now this whole process, that's where the boosting of metabolism happens.
Uh,
35% of the calories of that steak are already gone. So if you had a 1,000 calorie steak, you're left with only 650 calories out of it.
oh.
But if we use protein powder and protein shake, which are mostly in the form of amino acid already, so number one,
Oh.
we are not chewing it anymore. Number two, when it gets into the stomach, it's already into a mush. Once it goes into the intestines, it doesn't need the enzymes to digest it because it's already in the form of amino acids. So we're getting all the calories
Oh.
from this, and we are not boosting any metabolism by
Oh. Okay,
shakes.
so you go to Whole Foods and there's like thousands of protein drinks, some of which have whey powder, some of which are like made from, organic. Are all of them about the same that have that same like basically you're consuming already digested amino acids. So regardless of the type of protein that you get from a protein drink, they're always not as good for your metabolism as let's say a actual egg that you would eat in breakfast.
Well, I would say you are absolutely correct. All of them, no
Okay.
matter what brand, no matter where it comes from, our food is the best way to, boost our metabolism. It's more enjoyable to eat real food. For example, if you eat a
Yeah.
steak, you kind of feel more happy about it. So
Yes.
I would recommend to everybody enjoy your food. Try to get as natural and as real food as possible,
Yes.
and chew them nicely. That's why when the grandmother used to say, "Make sure you chew your food nicely,"
Yes.
that's where it comes in. She was right. The more you chew, the more metabolic activity happens in the body. So,
Right.
so I think the best thing to do is to enjoy the real food, and that's what we all like to do, anyways.
Yeah, it is. I mean, what I've sometimes do is I either have a thing of oatmeal and then I have the berries and the walnuts, or I have Greek yogurt. To me, Greek yogurt seems to be like the triage of like everything you want.
Right, right. That's true.
With like, I mean, what are some fast and easy I know that sounds awful, but like boiling egg, that sounds hard. I know I could probably boil it like 10 during a week, but that takes too much organization. So what are some good breakfast items that are super easy for me to eat?
I think you mentioned pretty good ones. So number one is you can eat a fruit like apple or so. It's big in fiber.
Right?
You eat an apple in the morning and it's big in fiber, requires a lot of time and energy by the body to digest it. So
Hmm.
that's a good thing to do. You could make a quick smoothie shake out of real fruits. So that's
Ah,
a good
okay.
thing to do. Some people may like foods like ice cream, and because you mentioned berries, I would like to mention it here.
Yeah.
Uh, that sometimes we really feel like eating ice cream, but we can make that ice cream, our body work harder for digesting that ice cream by adding berries to it.
Yes.
So now you are adding berries to it, and suddenly your body has to digest the ice cream and the berries, and we don't eat that much ice cream and the berries are already in there. And just toasting one toast of bread with peanut butter on it, that should be good. You could put butter on it, but just be careful that 1 spoon of butter is about 100 calories. We use 2 spoons of butter is 200 calories. 3 spoons become 300. So it ramps up very fast.
What
So
kind of butter are you having? I thought 1 tablespoon of butter is like 60 calories, and it's already gone up 40 calories. Oh my gosh.
that's a 40% surcharge now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so all right, I was talking to my husband who I'm like the nagging wife who's focusing on his health. And so I did and he's never going to read this book, so I tried to do a recap of the whole book. And I said, "Okay, here's some tips that you can use. Let's talk about sugar, right? Because it's hard. It's hard and you actually what I love about your system is that it's pragmatic. I had a diet where it's like no sugar, you're not supposed to eat sugar anytime, and no carbohydrates, none of those anythings. And then what happens is over time, there's going to be a point when you break, right, where you're just going to break. And so what I loved about your book is during the holidays, because we still have New Year's coming up. What happens if we do want to eat a cookie or a piece of cake or gravy on our, you have some really great tips. So I was wondering if you could share them.
So let's talk about, how do we eat sweets when we go to all these parties?
Yeah.
So we got to understand the metabolism behind it.
Okay.
What happens is that whenever we eat sugary stuff, any sugary stuff, or carbs, it spikes insulin in our body.
Right.
The insulin spike could be high or could be low.
Right.
Whenever the insulin spike is low, it converts all the calories into energy and dissipates it.
Right.
But if the insulin spike is high, it causes storage of food into fat.
Right.
And we don't want our insulin to spike high. The best way to prevent insulin to spike high is not to eat too much sugar at one time.
Right.
So for example, we recommend to all our patients, and also in the Slim Plate system, that's how it's designed as, that you should not be eating more than 18 grams of sugar at one time.
Mm-hmm.
If, for example, if you look at a chocolate bar or something, and I'm not talking about carbs, it's about sugars. So
Right. You
just
look at
look
the
at the
gram when
sugar.
it says sugars, it's the number of grams of sugar that it says on the label.
Right. So when you look at it, and if your bar has 36 grams of sugar, you are probably better off eating half of it.
Right.
And then you can eat the other half maybe 4 or 5 hours later, so you're not getting those high insulin spikes.
Okay. So I told my husband this. I'm like 18 grams every 2 hours, and he said, "Okay. So does that mean I can?" 'Cause he was telling me he loves muffins,
Okay.
and I said, "Okay, my guess is a muffin probably has like probably about 20 grams of sugar in it, depending on the muffin, right?"
Mhm.
So I said, "So eat 18 grams of it," and he's like, "Okay, but like, why is?" You're a woman, I'm a man. Why can we both eat 18 grams? Like, doesn't it depend on, like, let's say I had the 18 grams of sugar with, like, a piece of fruit, where do you come up with this 18 grams? I'm like, I don't know. I'll ask him. So,
Right.
so my husband wants to know 18 grams. How'd you come up with it? In the
How,
2 hours, how'd you come up with it?
yeah, that's more through our experience in our weight loss program here
Uh-huh.
at our ACE Medical Weight Loss Center. That's where we do it. We have tried different grams of sugar on patients and try to see what usually maintains their weight. So,
Oh,
so
interesting.
that's where. So this is basically kind of our estimate. So don't take the 18-gram number as a hardline number.
Yes, if he gains weight, you don't want him to come back like, Dr. Graywell, why? Why?
So, but again, that basically means the lower the sugar amount we consume, the better it is, because the lower the insulin spike in our body. So if we can just stay good with 10 instead of 18, that's even better. But
Right.
but if it is beyond 18, we know we are heading into the territory of high insulin spike.
Okay, but we're just looking at the label of it. Because, if you eat a muffin, let's say, that has carbohydrates that convert to sugar, and then there's sugar that's in the muffin, that's the grams of sugar, and then there's, all sorts of other stuff. But you're just talking about the 18 grams. I'm trying to be very
Right.
specific so I
So
can give them a rule.
we're talking about 18 grams of sugar, and we want it to be so specific is because we don't want confusion.
Right,
If we give you a range of 14 to 16 or 14 to 20, then it kind of loses the purpose of
right,
being,
exactly.
instructional. So,
Right.
so I think the best thing is just try to keep it below 18 grams, so we know we are on the safer side than on the unsafe side.
Yes. Okay, so,
But very important, because sugar, that's when the sugar turns into fat. when we eat more of it. Same thing with the sodas. When we drink sodas and we drink too much of it, the big bottles, even 16 ounces not a soda that we should consume. It should be only 8 ounce or less.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's where we gain the weight because
Yeah.
the cookies, the size of the cookies getting bigger, the size of the donuts are getting bigger. The
Right.
pockets are like huge nowadays.
I know.
So
All right, so you were saying for even yourself, which I was like, oh, he even drinks soda. So you're saying for you 2 to 3 times a week, and that's your that's your personal limit, but you say no more than once a day for people who may want to drink lots of soda, that you drink 8 ounces of
yeah,
soda.
8 ounces of soda or less is better because soda is the biggest driver of obesity in our country.
Hmm.
Whenever I see big bottles of soda, I hate it.
Yeah.
But but like we said, the research shows the rats when they drink soda, when they give soda to actual rat in the labs, they eat more and show binge eating behavior, and that's what's happening to us. We are drinking 32 ounces of soda, 16 ounces of soda every day, and slowly we are binge eating, and we think it's all about our willpower, but it's not about our willpower. It's that soda that we drank every day with lunch or maybe with dinner. That's what's driving our craving.
Yeah. Well,
Until we fix that,
it's this soda, 46 grams of sugar,
oh
right?
yes,
It's
yes.
crazy.
That's a lot of sugar that cause a lot of insulin spike, and not only that, it changes our eating behavior. We
Right.
have to eat more. We are going to be under the control of the great soda and just munch on everything.
I love the idea of being in control of the great soda. Okay, what do you mean by binge? Just so people know, when you talk about binge and addiction eating, what are you referring to?
Right. So great question. First of all, when do we know that we are addicted to food? We are
Right.
addicted to food if we are eating when we are not hungry. As
Okay.
simple as that. If we are eating when we are not hungry, we are addicted to food. And when I say binge eating, what happens is, the same thing. We are just sitting there. We are really not hungry, but we just start munching on something. So
Okay.
that's binge eating. That's uncontrolled eating, which means many of us have forgotten what hunger feels like because we are eating all the time.
Mm.
The best way before we start any diet, I always tell my patients, uh, just starve yourself enough that you actually feel the hunger before you start on our slim plate system or any other diet.
Huh.
Because you need to get to that point that you need to remember what hunger feels like so
Wow.
that so that you can ask yourself, okay, this is I'm really hungry now. It's
Oh. Yeah. That's a really good point. I haven't even thought about that because if you are on a sugar, if you're addicted, right, you're not going to know when you actually are hungry because you're just constantly on this ride. So starve yourself so you know what it feels like to be hungry.
right because we have forgotten what it feels to be
Oh
hungry.
yeah, that's huge. Okay, so the idea is if you're going to eat sugar, this is the only way I could incent my husband. I said if you're going to eat sugar, eat 18 grams every 2 hours. And so what's the 2 hour part of that?
Right. So when we say 18 grams every 2 hours, it basically means I'm not saying eat sugar 18 grams every 2 hours,
Hmm.
but it basically means that if you have a 36 gram of sugar in a snack or a bar or anything, break it into half and eat the second half in the second hour. But if you keep on eating sugar every 2 hours, that would slowly increase the baseline level of your sugar, which is not good.
Ah, okay, got it. See,
So
you
you
have to
can't.
be specific because people hear what they want to hear, right?
So here's the thing that we do recommend you can have desserts and things like that, but
Hmm.
not more than one a day. But whenever you have it, for example, if you have one small cookie, the sugar is probably less than 18 gram, you can have it. But if you have this one big cookie from Zoe's Kitchen or something like that, I
Yeah,
love those cookies though, but
yeah.
yeah, they're huge. So break them into four pieces and take one piece and then wait 2 hours
Hmm.
and then take the second piece
Yes.
and then wait 2 hours, then take the third piece. By the time you most likely you won't day would be over and you won't eat the fourth one. But that's how we are supposed to manage our sugar eating. Manage our
Right. Yes.
desserts.
Well, I liked some of the tips that you had that I think are particularly important during the holidays. Is you said, okay, if actually make a batch of cookies, which we all do, right? We make a batch of cookies for Santa, presumably, but also for Santa. So we make we make like 46, 30 cookies, 36 cookies, and so. Usually I try to taste the first one to make sure that they taste good. Of course, I don't have to do that, but that's in my mind what I've convinced myself to do. But one of the things that I think is really important is taking those cookies and putting them out of sight, out of mind. Because when you see those, we had these cookies sitting on our table, and just seeing them is torturously hard not to want to eat one. So just putting them away, taking two and putting them. Did an experiment because I was reading this book, and I just put two out there and I put the rest in the refrigerator. And guess what? No one ate cookies all day just by sticking them in the refrigerator.
Well, that's true because you got to make access to your sweets difficult. For example, I was telling one of my patients, actually it was just today, that he needs to stop drinking soda, and he was drinking a lot of soda, and he was addicted to soda, and he said that's going to be difficult. I said, okay, then you can stop drinking the soda. No, don't stop drinking the soda, but don't buy them.
Hmm.
You drink the soda only if somebody gives it to you. So, so you know,
I just,
but,
I just had this other idea of like taking. We have a really high cabinet that's probably 9 feet. We have 9 foot ceiling, so we have a really high cabinet. If I just took those cookies and put them, or put the soda in the 9 foot cabinet, and I have to go up
actually,
the steps.
exactly. Then you have to look for the steps, put the steps there, and then you have to get to the cookies. So you'll say, "Oh, forget it. I don't want
Yeah, you realize how desperately bad your addiction is as you're going up the rungs. You're like, this is really bad. Do I really need this? Okay, so out of sight, out of mind. I like that. And the other thing that I actually interviewed this one woman on mindful eating, and actually you talk about it in your book too. You talk about if you have a truffle,
it."
the first bite, just taking it and going. What we do usually is we have a truffle, boom, in the mouth, gone.
Right.
But you're just saying taking small bites and be mindfully savoring every moment of that. And then you talk about taking that truffle and breaking it into 3 bites. And tell me why
Yeah.
you came up with that.
So basically, what happens is one thing we have to remember is the taste, the enjoyment of the food is in on our tongue. All the taste
Mm,
receptors on our tongue. Once the food crosses our tongue, it's a liability for us. Now it's just a fact, right? So we have to make sure that keep the food longest on the tongue if you want to enjoy it the most.
right.
Faster it crosses that gate, the less enjoyable the food is, and more we have to eat of it. So that's where how we came up with the idea of the first is to taste it.
Right.
First bite is to taste it, and when you taste it, if you don't like the taste of it, don't finish it.
Yes, that's the hard one,
So
right? Because
that's
you're
the
like,
hard
I
part.
might as well just finish this awful chocolate with the filling I don't like in it.
Exactly. So anytime if you don't like the food after the first taste, don't eat it anymore.
It
Because
sounds obvious, but it's
right,
hard.
right, it's hard
Yeah.
to do because we are trained not to waste food.
Yes.
So, but unfortunately now we have a lot of food, so we have to save ourselves from that. Uh, and then the second bite, you kind of enjoy it more, and with the third bite, you enjoy it even more.
Right. And I love the idea, because the spiritual person, it's like about being mindful. And I love how yours is like, no, it's basically about cost benefit. You're going to have the loss once it hits your stomach, you're at a loss. So try to increase the benefit by rolling it around on your tongue as much as you can.
Yeah, that's where we are enjoying the food anyways, and
Yeah.
that's the maximum taste you can juice it out of a truffle is by keeping it on your tongue.
Yes.
So,
You might as well, if you're going to get the cost, you might as well enjoy the maximum benefits that you can out of that. Okay, all right, and then the last tip that I loved is you talked about when you have your 8 ounces of soda, you try to combine it with, a piece of cheese or some pretzels or something because there's something about the combining the carbohydrate, the fat, and the what am I missing? Carbohydrate, fat, and protein together. So you mentioned before, like if you're eating breakfast, you take a taste of toast and put peanut butter, which is protein, and on top of it. What's the alchemy of combining stuff? And
well, we have to few things we have to remember is that whenever we are eating something, it causes us to have cravings if we just eat one macronutrient. For example, our diet consists of both carbohydrates, fats, and proteins.
hmm.
So if we have just carbohydrate, our body's still craving for proteins and craving for fat. So we end up eating something else after that.
Wait, say that again. So can you repeat that again?
Sure, sure. What happens is our body requires carbohydrate, fats, and proteins. These
Right.
are the main
Right.
macronutrients, the main three ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
If we decide to take only the carbohydrate part of it, it does not satisfy the body's need to get the fat and
Right.
the
Right.
protein.
So yeah, I'm doing these. Yep.
Right. So once you eat the carbohydrates, now suddenly your body wants to have fat,
Oh,
and
so
it
it's your body wants to have these other two because it wants a balanced meal.
exactly it wants a balanced meal, and that's the reason when we skip our meal and instead eat a piece of cake, it really doesn't satisfy us. We are always getting more
Ah.
hungry after we are eating the cake, but we thought we instead of me having a lunch, let me just eat a piece of cake, and
Right.
it doesn't satisfy us, and we actually eat more that day.
Right,
Uh,
because we're trying to make up for the, hey, what about my, I ate carbs, what about my fat and protein?
exactly. So
Uh,
then we are eating something fatty food, and then the body says, "Oh, by the way, I still didn't get my proteins," and then we try to look for something
uh,
else. Right. The other thing is the mixture of many different ingredients does aid in slowing down the process of uh, absorption into the blood. So what happens is, as the sugar enters the blood slowly, the insulin spike does not rise as fast.
okay. All right. So this, okay, this is again my husband who's trying to figure out the loopholes in this whole thing. So he said, okay, ask him. And I know this is the trilogy of awfulness, but I'm going to ask you anyways. I
Sure.
can eat 1 tablespoon of anything. Okay? I can eat a tablespoon of butter, I can eat a tablespoon of sugar, or I can eat a half a tablespoon of sugar and a half a tablespoon of
But
butter.
okay.
Which would be best for me? And I said, honey, none of those three things are good for you. And he said, but what you're telling me is that if I combine it, somehow it's better. So go ask that doctor. So I'm asking you, which would be
Okay.
better?
So here's the thing. Just combining is different, but here the combining with the right things is very, very important.
Okay.
For example, if you're combining fat and sugar or sugar and sugar, now sugar can be complex sugar which comes from fruit,
Hmm.
maybe like fructose, which has to break down into smaller molecules before it get absorbed.
Hmm.
Uh, Sugar could be in our soda or in an ice cream, which is like very clean sugar. It's already broken down into fine molecules and
Right.
causes the insulin spike higher.
Right.
So for us to slow down that insulin spike, we got to mix complex sugar with simple sugar. For example,
Hmm.
like I said, the example before, the ice cream
Cream
and
and
the
the
berry.
berries. Yeah.
So
Okay.
berries has the complex sugar and ice cream has the simple sugar. So it's not just a simple science of mixing things together, but we have to mix it with the right foods.
So even the berries, because that's what was confusing me. I thought, well, why are you adding more sugar? Complex sugar with the simple sugar of the ice cream. But you're saying it's because why is it that because there are two different types of sugar that it
Yeah, what
slows?
happens is, first we take, say, if we have an ice cream bowl, we
Hmm.
take 2 scoops of ice cream.
Right.
So the whole premise is that instead of taking 2 scoops of ice cream, you take 1 scoop of ice cream
Hmm.
and then fill the rest with the berries. So
Okay, got
it
it.
does reduce your amount of ice cream
Ice
you're
cream.
ingesting. Number two, the berries are making your gut work too. So while you're eating,
Uh,
you are boosting your metabolism also, and you're eating less ice cream too.
Okay, got it. So that's a twofer. So it's not just about combining those threes to create balance, or is it too? Because in the case of the 8 ounces of soda, you're suggesting combining it with pretzels or some other thing.
Right. So whenever we eat, pretzels and other things, it's probably better for us that we are not drinking as much soda also at one time. So it's a lot goes in with psychology also that if we are just drinking soda, we may probably gulp it down. If we
Uh,
are eating it with cheese, we
Peanuts.
would stop. Peanuts, so we have to stop and we have to take a bite. And so the slow
Uh,
drinking of soda is better than us drinking a whole gulp of soda. And I always tell my patients, drink soda as if you're drinking whiskey, not gulping it down, but keeping it on your tongue a little bit, sip by sip, so that it actually does not raise your sugar that fast.
I see. So it's not the combination of the sugar that the Coke has and the peanut. It's really slowing you down, or it's both, right? Isn't it both?
It's probably both. Yeah, it's probably
Okay,
both.
because when it hits your stomach, your body goes. I said to my husband, here's what I said, which I'm sure is partially true and partially false. I'm like, just think of it as like a sword. And this is your metabolism. You put like sugar down your gullet, and then you're also putting down peanuts. And your body has to go, wait a second, there are two different things here, and I need to actually sort these out in the right set of things that need to have happen. So just the process of putting two things down there, it's already complicating. It's making more complexity to the amount of things that your body has to do. So that's got to be better. Is that true?
That is true because you're making the body work more. Needs different enzymes to digest the fat in the peanuts and the protein in the peanuts, and it needs different enzymes to digest whatever we drink in the soda. So,
Okay, so what I told him was I said, my guess is a doctor would say it's better to eat 1 tablespoon of sugar and fat. It's don't eat any if you have to, but if you must eat, if you're forced to eat either a tablespoon of butter, a tablespoon of sugar, or a half a tablespoon of sugar and butter, it would probably be better to eat the half a tablespoon of sugar and butter.
well, I think for that answer is actually if we would combine everything that we have talked till now,
Yes.
uh, I would prefer just 1 tablespoon of sugar
Yeah.
because we shouldn't forget the research about the mixture of fat and sugar, which triggers more cravings. So if you take that into an
Mm,
account, your sugar has gives you about 4 calories per you know four
tablespoon.
calories per gram.
Uh-huh.
The fat gives us about 7 to 9 calories per gram. So it's almost
Oh.
a lot of calories. But sugar and fat mixture, we know that will trigger intense craving in us, and it
Ah.
eat more. So I would prefer that 1 tablespoon of sugar between the three choices,
Okay. All right, I'll
as
tell
long
him.
as it is less than 18 grams of sugar.
Right. This is what you have to do for the human mind, right? I mean, because we want to figure out what the loopholes are so that we can skate around these things, especially during the holidays when we want to eat. We want to eat. I did a program on EFT and tapping, and so they talk about a lot about how eating is about emotional eating. And during the holidays, you have so many memories associated with food. And what they suggest, if folks want to listen to it, I had this interview with Karen Donaldson about EFT and tapping as a way of like re breaking the emotional response with the actual hunger because we have them rolled in together. And but it's really hard to do because I actually broke my addiction to popcorn and then I was sad. No longer wanted to eat popcorn. It was a losing battle. So I think it's better to just do what you said, like you were talking about. If you have a chocolate chip cookie, eat half the chocolate chip cookie and combine it with milk because you're making your stomach work harder. And those are things that we can do, right? If we say,
And even with the popcorn, you can have one handful of popcorn at one time.
yeah,
It's actually pretty good snack because when you have one handful of popcorn, it's about 100 calories or less, and it's actually a healthy snack. The
right.
popcorn becomes a bad snack only when we get a tub of popcorn in the
Right.
meal. So
And we refill it again. Okay, so one other question, since it's holiday related too, is alcohol. So what I thought was interesting, you have a whole section about the science of carbohydrates in your book, Fat Me Not, and you talk about drinking alcohol and the difference between eating uh, carbohydrate, let's say a baked potato or a piece of vegetable, which is a carbohydrate, versus drinking alcohol, versus I can't remember. I think there was one other choice. Oh, yeah, it was a piece of white bread. I can't remember. You had three different choices of different carbohydrates. Can you explain what that is to
yeah,
folks?
so basically, the reason we mentioned the alcohol in the book came because I was driving by and I saw this billboard which said alcohol has no carbs.
Right.
Like what? So first of all, it was not in favor of consumer interest
Right.
because alcohol can be technically, chemically, can be counted not as carbs just because of their molecular structure, but the molecular structure is very similar to a carb molecular structure with a just slight change of OH molecule at one end. Uh, so and when you look at the calories, actually the alcohol gives us more calories than a carb. So when we are drinking a glass of alcohol, we are getting almost 1.5 times more calories than if we would have had a carb drink of the same size.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's the reason we recommend that when we are dieting, uh, even we have to watch how much alcohol we intake.
Hmm.
That's very important too.
Hmm.
And that's
Okay.
why I went with that example.
And then what I liked about it is that, if you think about you're eating broccoli, right? Your mouth, the whole process of metabolism and digestion, right? You're eating it, like you were saying before, you have to chew, that takes calories. Your body has to break that broccoli down into sugars, that takes calories. And then, it's all these different things where the alcohol's a straight drop, boom, you know, no work whatsoever.
And alcohol starts absorbing right in the mouth itself. That's why we get tipsy even by first
Um,
sip many times. So alcohol really doesn't need any digestion, and it's just straight calories shooting down.
yeah, that's like heroin, you know.
That's it acts like one. So.
Not that I've had heroin, but that's what it seems like to me. Okay, so I want to get into some other parts in your book. You talk about diet trumps exercise, and I'm an exercise fanatic, and I can tell you I gained 40 pounds even though I was exercising 5 to 7 times a week. So I know this to be true, but why does diet trump exercise?
Uh,
And, and,
and
and you're not just to be clear, you're not saying don't exercise, but if you're trying
yeah,
to
no,
lose
we're
weight and
not
you're
saying
picking one or the other.
yeah. So the reason we did exercise, we wanted to make sure people understand that many times we are just sitting around waiting that I need some time to go to the gym so that I can start losing weight. I
Right.
need to oh, I don't have a gym equipment, or I don't have a gym membership, or they're going to have a discount a few months later and then I'm
Right.
going to join. But we want, and then we have in our office we have patients with disabilities who are struggling with their weight. We have very obese people in our office coming in to help us help them lose weight. Uh, and if somebody is 290 pounds or 260 pounds, it's very hard for them to move. So
Hmm.
for me to sit down and tell them to go exercise, it's not a practical thing to do.
Mm.
Uh, on the other hand, 90% of our weight loss comes from diet and diet alone. And
Hmm.
same way, 90% of our weight gain comes from diet and diet alone.
Mm.
Exercise is good for boosting our weight loss. Exercise is good for maintaining our weight loss. But if we are looking to lose weight, we got to first look at our diet. We got to make sure our diet is healthy, make sure we're eating the right way, the right food in the right portions, and that's what really makes us lose 90% of the weight.
Mm. Hmm.
Our system, we had several patients with disabilities, even a couple of them on wheelchairs who couldn't even move, and they were able to lose weight because, uh, and that makes me even more reassured that diet is the major part and major factor in helping us lose weight.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just look at it by purely, I know that you're trying to get away from the mathematical of looking at calories alone, but I can go and run really hard on a treadmill for about 30 to 60 minutes, and I'll burn maybe between 300 and 600 calories. And that's me like huffing it, working really hard. And then I'll go eat a cookie, and boom, it's gone. So no, there's the benefits of getting my heart rate up and, sweating and detoxifying, all that, which is, you're saying, like, hey, that's all good. But let's be practical here. Like, if I eat one cookie, that eliminates all my 1 hour sweat on the treadmill in
Right.
terms of just weight loss.
Right, and you are very dedicated to exercise, so you are able to spend that much time. But for most
Right.
people, after 30 minutes, nobody usually goes even up to 30 minutes on a treadmill, and that burns about 100, calories. And you can eat a small bag of potato chips, and that thing is gone. And like you said, exercise is very good for cardio. It is
Good
good
for your
for
heart. Yeah.
maintaining our heart, maintaining our health, maintaining our stamina, which has a lot of other health benefits. But if you're just looking solely for losing weight, we should focus on the diet. And that's the most difficult thing to do. And sometimes we do go into denial about the diet and look at exercise, but we should always look at our diet and fix the diet, because when we start fixing the diet, the weight loss starts automatically. We don't even have
Mm-hmm.
to sweat for it.
Right. Okay, so I want to another part that you talk about. There's you talk about scientific research on the gut, and you have this really interesting experiment that you share in the book Fat Me Not. And the experiment is they had two rats, a healthy rat and an unhealthy rat. And the hypothesis was that if you had a healthy microbiome, is that what it's called?
Right, healthy microbiome.
If you had a healthy microbiome, that's actually the critical part. And this is based on research that they did with people with bypass surgery. And so they thought, well, actually, it's all about the healthy gut flora.
Gut flora. And that's the reason, this is the cutting edge research which is coming in. And when you look at the research papers, what they basically did in one of the experiment was they took these obese rats in
Mm-hmm.
the lab, uh, and they made them go through bypass surgery and they lost weight.
Yes.
Then they took a group of second obese rat, but they did not put them through gastric bypass surgery, but they took the microbiome or the gut flora from that previous
Healthy.
rats and
Oh, for health.
the rats which have lost weight. And then they transferred it to the other rats, and they also lost weight even without gastric bypass surgery. So now this research has not been duplicated in humans, but in rats. What we now know is that when they do a gastric bypass surgery, it's not just about portioning of the stomach. There was something else that was going on, and that was this gut flora, the microbiome. That was the one which was also helping us lose weight.
Mm,
Helping the rats lose weight. But that's where the new research is going: is what bacteria would actually help us lose weight? What are these good
mm-hmm.
bacteria? And and if you look at it, that's what in our book we came up with the fat mean yes and fat mean not cycle.
Mm-hmm.
In the fat mean not, so some people are stuck in the fat mean yes cycle and they keep on gaining weight no matter what they eat.
Right.
Some people are stuck in the fat mean not cycle and they eat whatever they eat and they don't gain any weight. And that's the reason the difference between the gut flora.
Ah.
So if we eat high fiber diet, we drink plenty of water a day, if we eat in the right portions and we reduce our sugar intake to less than 18 grams, our microbiome starts changing into a good bacteria microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
When that happens, research also shows that these bacteria in our stomach can actually hypnotize us. They can actually control our brain. They
Hmm.
can actually control our cravings. So what
Mm-hmm.
is happening is these bacteria send chemical signals through the stomach,
Mm-hmm.
brain, that this is what we want. And then we start craving those foods. And when we eat those foods, that helps these bacteria in the stomach to grow and flourish and get bigger. So if you have bad bacteria, they're going to make us crave the bad food. If we have good bacteria in the stomach, that they're going to make us crave the good food.
Okay, so what I need to do is find someone with healthy microbiome and stick their poop up my butt.
Okay. Somehow get the bacteria from the stomach, but that's where the research is actually going.
I know. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I kept on thinking, okay, what does this mean? I'm
Right.
scared.
No, but the other way to do it is to modify your diet. So
Yes, no, I know. That seems the easier way, isn't it?
easier and a more palatable way, I guess.
Okay, I'm just being disgusting. All right, I want to ask one more question before we wrap up. This was a shock for me because a while back someone said, well, what you really need to do if you want to lose weight is do the detox diet. Just drink orange juice for 2 or 3 days because your body needs to detoxify. It's just full of chemicals and all sorts of crap, and you need to detox. And so, one of your rules is drinking 8 glasses of water a day. And I wanted to talk about, and then you talk about like, hey, you were curious. I don't know if it was you or the other co author that was curious about the detox. So tell us a little bit about why 8 glasses of water a day, which we've heard forever, and why detox is not so good for you.
Uh, so 8 glasses of water a day. Water is very important. It's a very important part of our metabolism. Our body goes through thousands and thousands of chemical reactions every single day. It is the world's biggest laboratory in one human being. Uh, the amount of reactions we go through is millions of reactions, and many of these reactions require water.
Mm,
The H2O molecule. So if you remember from your chemistry class, almost every reaction has a H2O either going in or coming out.
mm,
So most of the organic chemical reactions, for that matter.
right.
So that's the reason we need water. Now, if we stop drinking enough water, we are basically slowing down all these metabolic reactions because now suddenly the ingredient that they need to move forward is not there. And that cascades into slowing up further future metabolic reactions just because the previous reaction did not complete because of lack of water.
Ah, okay, got it. Interesting.
All right, so drinking less water actually slows down our metabolism.
Okay,
Drinking more water improves our metabolism.
okay.
Coming to the topic of detox, and it's a very popular way of losing weight. It does make you feel like we are losing weight is because detox causes loss of water. So
Mm,
detox basically means any substance that we ingest which is high osmolality. So we know that in our colon, when anything of high osmolality comes in, it pulls the water from the body into the colon. And that's the reason most detox give us diarrhea or things
right,
like that and get rid of the water.
right.
But what we are losing in that is only water, not fat. We are
Oh,
losing water, and water has a weight of its own. So when we lose water, it does look like we lost weight. But that's temporary because then we're going to get thirsty, we're going to drink water, our body is going to conserve the water because it lost too much, and eventually bring our hydration status back to normal. And we actually did not lose any weight by detoxing. So detoxing is not a weight loss technique.
yeah. It seems like it's a way to just get rid of fecal matter and water, which may lose weight.
Right, relieve constipation. So,
Right. But then, is there any benefit because of detoxes? Or like, hey, you're cleansing out your body, you're cleaning your colon, you're scraping. Is any of that stuff beneficial?
well, there is no research currently that actually shows that this is beneficial for us.
Okay.
Uh, the only thing it probably does is, people who are patients with constipation, it may help them, move their bowels more regularly, but that's about it.
Okay. All right. We only have one more minute because I want to talk about so your website is slimplatesystem.com.
Right.
And the book is Fat Me Not. And we've been talking to Dr. Sandeep Grewal. And I actually just ordered your, which I think is one of the hardest thing, is this in the back you have the Slim Plate system, and it comes with a series of plates that you change the proportions that you're eating of food every 4 months. It comes with a food plan, and it comes with
And
20
exercise.
videos, right?
Yeah, it has 20 instructional videos. It has 4 cycles of 30 days, and every 30 days you're going to switch from one place to another. And based on all the research and everything that we talked about, the whole online video weight loss program is designed to help people go through the 4 stages and get into the right way of eating and losing weight.
Right, based on the whole idea of the recent research about having a healthy gut biome, about the stuff that we talked about, the spikes in insulin and sugar. It's all
Eating
out.
five times a day,
Yep.
drinking plenty of water. So everything gets incorporated in a very intuitive way. And we do discuss a lot of scientific things and helping people understand why we are doing what we are doing,
Yes.
so that we stick to it. And the biggest thing is we wanted to make it very easy and intuitive. So that's
Yes.
what we try to do.
And I actually just ordered it, and because I was talking to the doctor before that, I actually did one where there was calorie counting, and after a while, it's not sustainable. But if I know what a plate looks like, how big the plate should be, and the proportions, that I can do when I'm at a restaurant. I don't have to like sit there and add. I think just even visually having a sense of how much you're supposed to eat and the right balance of those things that you have marked out on your plate, I think would make it a lot simpler.
Right, and it's a training tool for the mind too, because Slim Plate system we have realized is, and our patients have told us that about using it after about a month or so, they don't even have to look at the plate when they go to a restaurant. They kind of know, okay, this is too much, so I can
Yes.
eat that much.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so folks, if people who are interested in it, go to slimplatesystem.com. Thank you so much. This was highly informative. I love the whole biology of it. It's fascinating, and I love the 35% sale. That's the best ever.
And the 50% surcharge.
Exactly. Exactly. I love it. Thank you so much, folks. Make sure to go to slimplatesystem.com. It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.